What's up guys, Crazy here, back into Borderlands, and today we have the week event number 2 coming up to the game, and alongside with it we also have 14 encounters to go over, as well as a whole bunch of legendary items that have their chances to drop from these encounters increased during this week's event. So we are going to go over all of these 14 encounters, how to find them, as well as what kind of loot you can expect from them. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up on it would also be super appreciated. And let's get started with one of the first encounters, which is of course the Rackman. This is a Batman Easter egg, and you can find this in Pandora in the region called Carnivora, inside this cave over here. The cave is on the opposite side of where you spawn in this map. Now the easier way to spot this is by simply looking up in the sky, and of course you might or might not see a Rackman sign in the sky, similar to the Batman sign in the movies, the comics, or the games. And once you do see it, make your way to the cave right here, and here is where you will find the Rackman. He is a very interesting enemy. He comes with some very special attacks. He kind of jumps a lot. There's also a lot of racks in his cave, but he isn't that hard to take on. And once you do take him on, there's increased chances for his specific gun to drop, and in this case his gun is the Night Flyer. And this is a Dell pistol which comes with some really high damage, over 1000, also a very high rate of fire of 13, magazine size of 18, which is pretty big, as well as the red text, I have one rule, of course referencing Batman's one rule of not killing the enemy. And here is how this weapon works. It shoots in burst fires, but when you jump in the air it becomes automatic, and it also deals a tremendous amount of damage. I mean, this is like one of the best pistols in the game, at the very least it was when I tested it out, but its downside is the fact that it cannot kill enemies, just like how Batman cannot kill enemies. It drops them all the way to 1 HP, point at which you might want to switch to doing some melee damage to a different weapon, or just leave elemental damage to do its thing on the enemy. Now the second encounter is El Dragon Jr., and you can find him in Jacob's estate, really close to the spawn point, right next to this iridium writing over here, so it's really hard to miss. When you spawn, simply make your way to the left, and here is where you will find him coming up from this waterfall over here. And once he spawns, he starts doing a little bit of a pose and then immediately charges an electric attack. So again, he has some special attacks, but he isn't that hard to take on, so go ahead, take him down, and once you do, there's a chance for this to drop from him, this legendary artifact called Unleash the Dragon. And this is actually surprisingly good, especially for Amara, because it comes with some very good bonuses over here, including melee ignite chance 100%, slide ignite chance another 100%, as well as ground slam ignite chance 100%, and there's also a nice boost over here to melee damage 25%. But I did test this out, and you can set enemies on fire so easily, you deal so much damage with this thing, and it synergizes so well with something that gives you additional melee damage, such as for example the Psycho Stabber, over which I'll go in just a bit because this is also a drop from this event, but you might lose a few of the very good bonuses that your other artifacts might have. So it's again a matter of preference. It's a niche item, but you can definitely make it work. The third encounter is Road Dog. He can be found in the Splinterlands on Pandora, and he is actually in this enemy camp over here on this side of the map. You can reach it simply by first spawning in the Chop Shop save point and then making your way up north, all the way up here where you will see two camps, one near the other. One of them is an ally camp. You can even use the save point over here if you want to repeat this farming over and over again, and next to it there's going to be the enemy camp right here. And Road Dog actually spawns in the back side of it, and he comes up from this trailer over here. But once he does spawn, he does exactly what Roadhog from Overwatch does, as in he starts using his hook, but nonetheless he drops the Redline shotgun. This is a Torque shotgun, and if you know anything about Torque shotguns, this is extremely powerful. This has two firing modes, one of them is impact, the other one is sticky, and as a matter of fact, when you're using it in the sticky mode, you're going to have a much higher fire rate, so it's definitely going to be very useful, and you can stick these exploding damaging rounds into the enemy and take them down really fast. So it comes with a really good damage of almost 550 times 4 with some really nice magazine size of 12, and yeah, it's an overall very good shotgun to have, and it's like one of the top shotguns currently in the game, even after the torque shotgun nerf that happened a few weeks ago. Now the next encounter is the IndoTyrant, and he spawns in the Floodmore Basin on Eden 6, and the easiest way to reach him is from the Naughty Peak right here on the top. Just take down the elevator, and from that point on take any of those cars so you can make your way down in this open space over here, because here is where he will spawn, and he is going to charge you right in as soon as he spawns, so try to take him down as fast as possible. There's also going to be some enemies in there as well, but take him down and he has a high chance to drop random customization items, and this is the way you're going to do it. If you want customization items, yeah, he is going to be the boss for that, and he has increased chances to do that during this week. At number 5 we have the Power Troopers, and you can find these in the Alice HQ region on Promethea, and they actually spawn on the second floor of the main courtyard. So instead of going to Katagawa, just continue your way on the second floor of the courtyard up until you see this big turret over here, and it's this region where these Power Rangers or Power Troopers get to spawn. But yeah, they can be a little bit overwhelming if you're not too careful. They will just jump on you and deal quite a bit of damage, so make sure you take them fast, and once you do that they have a really good chance at dropping some random legendary class mods. Moving on to the 6th encounter, we have the Demon Skag, and these spawn in the Drought region on Pandora. The fastest way to reach them is to simply come at this first spawn point over here, take any of these cars, and then go over the first ramp in front of you, and on this left side over here you will start seeing an enemy encampment. Well, make your way to the back, and here is where the Demon Skag will start spawning. Now normally these Demon Skag have a chance to drop the Nighthawk in SMG, which is one of the best weapons in the game, but during this week's event they also drop random legendary shields, and farm them over and over again until you get what you want. But do keep in mind that the Demon Skag aren't a guaranteed spawn, and it might take a few reloads until you see them spawning, but they are definitely worth it because generally speaking 2 of them spawn at the same time. The next encounter is the Unstoppable. He can be found in Ambermire on Eden 6, and the easiest way to reach him is from Rogue's Hollow right next to this vending machine. There's going to be an enemy camp right behind it, and here is where you will find the Unstoppable. But he drops a very interesting legendary shield called Band of Sitorak, and this is the way it actually looks. Now this shield comes with some very interesting stats. It gives you some really good weapon damage bonus as well as health bonus when your shield is depleted, 22% and about 33% to health, and it also triggers a damage nova when your shield breaks. But the downside about it is the fact that it comes with some really low shield capacity, just a little bit over 1000, which is really small on Mayhem 3 and at the maximum level, but I believe there are a few builds in there that could make use of this extra damage as well as extra HP if you're going with something like that. The next encounter is Thunk and Sloth, and they can be found in Conrad's Hold on Pandora in the main facility, really close to the initial spawn point, and they will spawn somewhere here in the middle on this conveyor belt, but there's also a whole bunch of enemies that spawn in this area as well. Nonetheless, they drop a very interesting grenade called It's Piss, and it basically looks like this. This is definitely a utility item, as in damaged enemies take 20% increased damage for 6 seconds, and it will also extinguish status effects applied to your allies. So if you're going with a party or if you're going solo, you can also buff your damage as well as clearing up any status effects applied to you. It also explodes on impact, but the damage on it isn't really that much to speak of. It's only like 2500, so it's on the lower end, but the usefulness comes from its utility, and that is that 20% increased damage. Now the next encounter is Maxitrillion, and he can be found in the Voracious Canopy on Eden 6, really close to the end, so there's quite a bit of walking until you reach it, but the best way to farm it is to simply go up until the end, take the save point over there, and then backtrack a little bit all the way back into this room. So don't go into the boss room, but actually come back a little bit into this room over here, because this is where you will find him. And what he drops is actually the Horizon, which is a very interesting legendary shotgun, and it's a tier shotgun gun, which means that you're going to throw this on the ground and it's going to have some really interesting effect. In this case, when you throw it, the weapon will project a target that can be shot to create a singularity, and that will also explode. And it's actually way more useful than I thought. That singularity over there definitely messes up the enemies. I tested this out and I'm actually having quite a bit of fun with the singularity mechanic. It's just that it's sometimes unreliable and you kind of have to be a little bit further away so you can make better use of it. But when you do it and when it actually works, it's very useful. It just pulls in on the enemies, it deals damage to them, it explodes, and it's definitely useful for what it does and when you actually get it to work. The next encounter can be found in the Meridian outskirts, and this is actually very close to the initial spawn point. Actually, on the left side over here, there's going to be an enemy camp a little bit elevated, so you can take the elevator or just jump up. But here is where you will find Borman Nates, and he is a rare enemy that doesn't always spawn, but when he does, you are most definitely going to see him because he is all dressed in white. He looks like this. He's another Easter egg. Now, this encounter is a reference to Norman Bates, a fictional character from a book called Psycho, and as a matter of fact, even the weapon that drops from him is a reference to that book, and this is of course this pistol over here called Psycho Stabber. Now, the Psycho Stabber comes with some really interesting stats. Its damage is on the higher end, almost 1000, but when you shoot enemies in the head, they ricochet the bullet into other enemies' heads, so you can deal quite a bit of damage with this weapon. I was actually surprised by how well this weapon performed, but the best part about it is the fact that it comes with this very good bonus over here, 120% melee damage increase, which is really damn useful. It's a pretty big increase, especially for characters like Amara. Yeah, overall, if you want to go with something like this is a very good weapon for that, but in just the pistols category, I can see other pistols being a little bit better than this. Coming up, we have Princess Tarantella 2. She spawns in the Splinterlands region in the western side of the map in this opened area over here. It's really easy to reach her by just spawning in the pit stop, taking a car, and then going into this area over here. So you will see her spawning from the distance, and you can repeat the same process again and again in case she doesn't, but she drops a very interesting legendary rocket launcher called the Hive. It has some pretty high damage, but it also comes with a very unique functionality, as in when you shoot the rocket, it doesn't immediately explode into the enemy when it reaches it, but rather it stops in the air and then it starts spawning smaller rockets that go into the enemy, and the splash damage over here is quite significant, like plus 300 splash damage radius, so quite a bit. But I did use this, and against big groups of enemies it is most definitely very useful, and it is definitely a fun gun to play around with. Moving on, next we have the Mother of Dragons, and she spawns in the region called West of Gross in the Anvil map. So this is of course a Game of Thrones reference, and in order to reach this, it's actually really simple. You need to reach these sewers over here, which are really close to the main spawn point. And instead of going into the next section of the map, go a little bit back on this side of the wall, and here is where you will see an entrance to some canals, and make your way all the way to the back, and behind it is where you will find this big room where the Mother of Dragons spawns alongside her 3 dragons. It's a rather decent source of artifacts because it's a really fast encounter, it's really easy, and the spawn point is very close to the encounter itself. Coming up, we have the Red Jabber, and he can be found in the Amber Mire. The easiest way to reach him is to go to the initial spawn point, exit the first area, and at the first crossroad, go to the right, all the way to this side on the map, where you will find a whole bunch of Jabbers, and he has a chance to spawn from this room or house over here, but do pay attention that there's going to be quite a lot of Jabbers in there as well. So he's going to be kind of like a tank character with some really awesome design on the back, and again, he doesn't have any specific gear to drop, but he can drop some random legendary grenades. So if you want to just farm up random legendary grenades, this is going to be the new spot for you. The final encounter is going to be Ernest McEnforcer, and he can be found in the Electra City subway into the middle area, and he's actually really easy to spot. There's a couple of subway entrances, but the easiest is this one over here. You can just jump down from these stairs and make your way a little bit in the back, and on the left side of the tunnel is where you will see a door, and there's a chance for him to spawn from this door, and he drops something called the Masterwork Crossbow, which is a legendary sniper rifle. Now the crossbow comes with one of the highest damages in the game, almost like 5000, it's like plus 264 weapon damage, a lot of critical hit damage, shield capacity, so it's a really good weapon, but the point about it is that it kinda shoots arrows and it also has a big bullet drop off, so you can't shoot this from too far away, you kinda need to be close to medium range to the enemy, but on characters that benefit from this type of playstyle, it is definitely going to be a very good weapon. But with that, I believe we have covered all of the encounters as well as all of the weapons in the game. Now tell me down below how many of these did you actually get up until now and which one of them is your favorite. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up on it would be super appreciated. Also don't forget to subscribe and activate that notification bell, and I'm going to see you guys in the next one.